the New York Knicks. I'm back in the New York groove. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks taking no shorts just like winter.
New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Hey everybody, it is the New York Knicks podcast. I am Jay. Mark, the Knicks are winning a lot. How you doing?
The sky ain't falling. We're going to the sky. This is going great. What is more fun, Jay? Let me ask you this question. Let's start off. What is or has been more fun? Linsanity or heart sanity?
I feel like the Linsanity was a phenomenon, so it's hard to
It was like
compare.
13 games, but it was a phenomenon.
But this feels like way more sustainable. I feel like Linsanity got the high was a little higher in the beginning because it got worldwide attention.
Yes.
But I feel better about this team because I feel like this is real and this is sustainable and it's not a fluke. You knew Linsanity was like a fluke. This guy out of nowhere isn't going to be the best player in the league. This is a well-rounded team that's 9 deep and it's sustainable. And so I'm more excited about this now. It's hard to tell. 10 years ago, was I even more excited? I don't remember.
I mean, Linsanity was very exciting.
It
was just a phenomenon. This guy who was undrafted, suddenly was the toast of the town in New York. It was also kind of during a low because he only played because it was one of those things where you're that guy's only going to play if everyone's basically everyone's dead, basically. Everyone's injured.
Yeah.
And everyone was injured, so they kind of had to play him,
mm-hmm.
and he looked awesome. Knicks started winning games. You're like, what the hell? We finally have a point guard. This guy could be our point guard of the future. It was super exciting, and especially exciting because it came from a low to a super high. But it was also as you said, it was hard to believe it was sustainable. It went away. He left. The Knicks actually had a great year the following year, but nothing seems that sustainable.
Yeah. So I'm very, very excited. 6 in a row. The Knicks now have sole possession of 5th place. They have a chance of really pushing down the Nets tomorrow and then make a move on 4th. They're not very far behind the Cavs right now.
No, they're playing awesome. And it's also, no one's really even using the term heart sanity, but it's it seems like all the issues the Knicks had, it was the Knicks turned to Josh Hart and were you complete me. He just solved everything.
Yeah, I mean, the minutes rotation, nobody's playing too many minutes now. You bumped out, I guess, Sims, but rotation-wise, I just feel like the rotations fit better. It's a stronger 9-man unit. McBride, he bumped out.
McBride, yeah. Sims has got bumped out by Mitch coming back.
Mitch, yeah.
But it was, I mean, the
he's
closing
a huge upgrade
lineup
over
looks...
McBride.
The closing lineup looks... I mean, it seems like Tibbs' preferred closing lineup right now. And sometimes RJ gets into the closing lineup, but it seems like it's Randall, Mitch, Brunson, and Hart and IQ. And it's hard to argue it should be anyone else because those guys are playing so well.
Yeah. I mean, if RJ gets hot, he's going to be in that ending lineup, but he hasn't been playing great lately, so I'm fine with the lineup he's been playing to end games.
I saw a take today on Twitter where someone was saying or there was a video of someone talking about how this is bad with Hart. He's very good, but now we're playing these vets. We're sacrificing the development of IQ and sacrificing the development of Grimes and probably Grimes' minutes and sacrificing, I guess, RJ also. Grimes got to get better also. I mean, Grimes is only in his 2nd year. He didn't even play a full first year.
These takes are insane because he's still playing somebody who's in their mid-20s, not even late 20s, mid-20s. That's not an aging vet.
Right.
The people who want to sign 26. Melo to take minutes away from IQ, those are the people who would, you could complain about look, they're playing these vets, but playing a guy who's 26, come on. That's just
Yeah.
that's an
It's
insane thing.
completely insane. Guys can get it gets guys also. It doesn't put insane pressure on the young guys to be like, I have to be the man right now. Like they can take their time and develop. And also Grimes is still playing over 20 minutes a game. IQ played 30 minutes the other night. RJ's minutes were a little bit down, but like RJ's not been playing that well. We're trying to build a culture of winning. That I think IQ was they had with an interview with him talked about how this team has just amazing chemistry.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
really believe this team is just having so much fun playing together. There was the game the other night, the New Orleans game, where IQ on the steal, IQ basically bounced off the backboard for Randall to dunk it, and you just saw how happy they were. Like IQ was just happy to give the ball to Randall to dunk it. Randall afterwards kind of bumped into him in a friendly way.
Mm-hmm.
They were just having fun playing with each other.
Yeah, they do look like they're having a lot of fun.
I mean, mentioned on the broadcast. Obviously, you could have a team with a lot of chemistry and they lose, but usually teams that lose the chemistry falls apart pretty fast. This team is just the chemistry. Like these guys really want to play together, and even you can see a guy like Obi, who's definitely been his minutes have been you can argue he needs more minutes and so forth. His minutes have been held down the most of anyone in the 9-man unit. He still seems the most part like he's having fun.
He's
He's
so
very
into
happy for
every
his
game,
teammates. He
always
seems
smiling.
He's cheering.
Yeah.
He seems like he's into it, even though he's probably being held back the most.
He's the first guy off the bench to celebrate. He just seems
Jay?
like he's happy to be there. Yeah. You can't hear me? I think that's on your end.
Oh, it's my end. Okay,
Of course
I'm
it's
back.
right. I was wondering why you were just talking over me the whole time.
You kept talking?
Yeah, I was talking.
Son of a bitch!
Yeah.
I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I was saying he's the first guy off the bench. He's always celebrating. He's happy. He seems like he seems fairly content with his role, and I guess it helps that the Knicks are winning. Also,
Yeah.
he's in 4 days he'll be 25. So to complain about Hart, who's 26, getting minutes over a 25-year-old seems a little nitpicky.
Right. There's a lot of nitpicky complaints people make. I saw a little bit earlier in the season, people were making a complaint when Mitch was out. They were like, how can Hart, or even I guess maybe when Mitch, or a little earlier than that, but they were complaining like how can Hart play over Hartenstein play over Sims? And you're like, they're literally the same age. What's the issue?
Well, also,
I mean, you want to develop both, but you
Hart's-
can't say one's a young guy, one's a young 24 and one's an old 24.
Hart's just better. We
Yeah,
got an
he's better
extended
than
look
Sims.
at Sims when Mitch was out, and he didn't really do anything with that.
Sims had his moments. He's also in his second year.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, the Knicks are going to keep him for longer, and he'll get better.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got potential. I mean, maybe one day he'll win the dunk contest. He'll put a better performance in the future.
Right,
but
but we're not in a let's see what we have mode right now. We're gunning for the playoffs. We might get home court advantage in the first round. We're not let's give this second-year guy who hasn't been very good an extended run to see what we have. That's not the mode the Knicks are in right now.
no, and there's no reason they really need to unless the Knicks are gonna. Knicks are not going to switch gears and tank. They're trying for the playoffs. They have a very good team, and they have a very good argument that they're not that far away from being a contender. In the past week, they beat Atlanta, Washington, New Orleans, and the Celtics last night. They are on a 6-game winning streak. They're now the 5 seed, as you said before. And they seem really well set up to maybe take the leap.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they're an RJ away. If
Right.
RJ plays the way everyone thinks he can play, this team is awesome.
You look at this team right now, you have two guys in Brunson and Randall who, for the most part and most nights, give you all-star level performance.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have an RJ who's somewhere in between where some nights he'll give you really good performance. If he could be the key, if he can turn the switch and become an all-star, this team 100% a contender. Then you have guys like IQ, you have Hart, you have Grimes, you have a lot of really good role players. Mitch, who's been awesome when he's healthy. It doesn't seem like they're that far away. Plus, you have a bunch of first round picks to trade. You could trade. You have Fournier and Derrick Rose as far as their cap space to trade. And you also have some good young players like an Obi who you can include in a trade. And RJ, if you want to upgrade RJ, you can include him in a trade. The Knicks could make a swing to get better. They could be one trade away. I mean, see, look how much better the team looks just with Hart. One more trade, and this team could be a solid contender.
My prediction is that in the offseason, the Knicks trade RJ, Obi, and then Fournier, Rose, whoever makes the salaries fit, and a bunch of firsts. And they make their move for whichever star asks out next. That's
okay.
My prediction.
So I came up with a list of 5 players that could be available this offseason. And I'm trying to be somewhat realistic, not like saying like it'd be great if Kyrie screws things up in Dallas enough that Luka wants out. By the way, I sent this to you earlier, Jay, but I want to point out on the show, since the Kyrie trade, the Nets are 1-4, and so is Dallas. Dallas is 1-4 since getting Kyrie. It's going well for both teams.
And the Nets just announced that Simmons is being shut down for the season.
Yes, Ben Simmons is being shut down. So he will have missed a whole season plus a good portion of it this season for mental issues. I mean, that sounds terrible. Actually, I don't want to like.
No, he's injured. He's injured this season. Last season he sat out most of the season and then got injured. And
is he injured right now?
Yeah, he's injured. That's why they're sitting him.
Oh, I thought I thought they just gave up on him.
No, he I think he hurt his ankle.
Wow. By the way, LeBron James is also out. He might be out for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And LaMelo is also out potentially for the rest of the season. Actually, LaMelo I think is done for the season.
Yeah, he's done. So
a lot of guys injured since last show. And so anyway, I tried to come up with 5 guys. Just want to get your take on it. These guys, and so again, I'm not saying Luka's going to ask out because it'd be great if he does. I'm not predicting a Devin Booker asks out. I'm predicting 5 guys who it would not be crazy for this offseason for this team to say, I need to reset and want draft picks.
Okay.
So the first one is a guy that was traded this past offseason, but I think would be an excellent addition to the team, DeJounte Murray.
Okay. Didn't really work out with Atlanta.
Well, part of the reason it's not working out with Atlanta is because Trey is really tough to play with. Whereas DeJounte Murray and Brunson, I think, can really play together. I think also you can also always have one of them on the floor together. DeJounte Murray plays great defense. He could shoot the 3. He's got some size for the guard position. If you replace RJ with him, you replaced you add into the rotation, I think it would make a huge difference. Or replace Grimes with him, even
yeah.
I don't think this guy would be a big addition.
He would take Grimes' spot, and it's a huge upgrade.
So either Grimes' spot, or you can keep Grimes, or he takes RJ's spot. I still think he'd be a huge upgrade. You could trade Atlanta reasonably, maybe near trying to blow this up or trying to refigure things out.
I feel like they're more likely to trade Trey.
Right, but I think they may have. Trey may not have as much value as they'd hope, and also it's hard to trade their number 1 player.
Trey's having a pretty bad season.
He is, which also makes him harder to trade, where you might get like a bunch of draft picks back for DeJounte Murray, and you try to figure out how to rebuild again around Trey.
Imagine passing on Luka for Trey.
I mean, Trey is a pretty good player. It's not the worst. It's a pretty terrible move.
No, it's one of the worst. It's one of the worst.
Darko over the next 3 Hall of Famers in the draft.
Yeah, I said one of the worst, not the worst.
One of the worst. Yes. There are a lot of bad ones also. Yeah. It doesn't look good though. At least he turned out to be something though. It's not which is a worse move, drafting Trey over Luka, or I guess Marvin Bagley over both of them was also a pretty terrible move. Or trading James Harden for Ben Simmons.
Well, if Simmons walks in the offseason, that both teams just lose, right? That's just a draw.
It's also another. Yeah. Well, no. I mean, yes, you're right.
If Philly loses in the first or second round, and then Harden goes to Houston, that's a bust.
At least Harden will have played for Philly.
True, but they'll have given up draft picks for
That's
anyway,
true, yeah.
anyway, back to you.
Also, I'll mention one other one that's as far as a terrible draft pick would be trading Jason Tatum basically for what's his dude, the point guard, the one, number 1 for Philly. That's on Orlando. Fultz, yeah, Markelle Fultz. Basically, you traded Markelle Fultz for Jason Tatum, and then traded Markelle Fultz like a season later.
Yeah.
Okay. My next one, C.J. McCollum. I guess I was trying to think about what positions basically would be the most important positions to fill. I think shooting guard was where or shooting guard / small forward is where you can really upgrade.
Yeah. So that's definitely a win now move.
Yeah, we're switching the win now move here, basically, generally. Yeah,
because he's in his 30s. They'll be the only in his 30s player on the roster.
Yes.
Still playing really well.
Okay, first question, does DeJounte Murray make the team a contender?
Yeah, I think anybody who is at an all-star level, I think the Knicks are that close, where you don't need, a top 5 guy. If you get an all-star talent, then the Knicks are contenders.
Okay, CJ, how do you like the idea of trading? And the idea here really is the Pelicans realize that Zion is never going to be healthy, or they realize, I don't know, they really need to switch things up a little bit there.
Rob wants to know if Philly gets bounced early. Does Embiid want out?
That would be amazing. Do you think he'd want out?
If they get bounced early and then Harden leaves, you never know. I could see him throwing a fit, being like, "Get me out of here."
Yeah, I mean, I guess now you don't know who's going to ask out. Anyone, there's not a lot of loyalty. I feel like, generally speaking, also with your team has a 4 to 5 year window at most with the current roster. And then you just have to reset. You get lucky if guys stay longer.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one. Also a guy in his 30s, but I think would definitely make us a contender. Paul George.
No.
Why not?
He's
injured too much?
He's always injured, yeah.
Okay, I mean, that's fair. I do think he would be, of these 3 guys, Paul George would be if healthy, he gives it the best chance.
Yeah, I just don't trust it. I'm so sick of the Knicks going after guys that are injury prone and then they get injured, and I feel like this move is their last move. They're going to trade their draft picks, they're going to trade their assets, and that's it. And if you
is your big swing,
right? Yes. And you trade for Paul George, and you just don't know if he's going to play.
Okay, here's my next one. And this one's a bit of a zag on the current roster. This one would probably involves trading Mitch, which I normally would say no to. What about trading him for Bam? Is there a chance Miami realizes they're not going anywhere and decides to reset? Jimmy Butler's getting older. What else do they have? They have Tyler Hero. They have a bunch of other young players. They don't seem to really be going anywhere. And some of the vets they brought on, Kyle Lowry, haven't worked out. Maybe they say hey, let's just get some picks and reset this thing. And Bam is probably their best asset.
I don't know if that really does much for them because you're probably giving up Mitch.
Right. I think Mitch and Bam defense. Bam's a pretty good defender, so it's pretty equal there.
Yeah.
And now you have a center who's a scoring monster.
I don't think you need that. Okay. I think they need the elite defense more than they need a center that can score.
Okay. And the last one is one I've talked about before on the show, and this is just a swing for one season, but LeBron, who's just got injured, is out for the season, but the thought being basically maybe LeBron's hey, I'm clearly not going anywhere in LA. Let me put the crowning achievement on my career. And I think Lakers will give him some approval on this. He might have approval anyway, but let me put the crowning achievement on my career. Let me go to New York. Let me go to a team that doesn't need me to do everything, and I can be healthy and ready to take them over the top of the playoffs.
That would be the next thing to do it the year the wheels finally fall off on him.
Right. I mean, you could also see any of these guys they trade for, they'll, Embiid will come here, and that will be the year Embiid's done. That'll be the year they're oh yeah, of course he fell apart. This guy was going to be injured his whole career.
Yeah. I'd be worried. You know, your all in move is for like a 40-year-old, and then you're giving up your assets for like basically a 1-year rental.
Yeah, I guess for this one, it'd be the least assets. Actually, it wouldn't be that. You'd have to trade a lot of first round picks. Lakers aren't doing unless you're really like helping them out.
Yeah.
So here's a question, and you kind of started addressing this anyway. Do people always talk about you cannot win without a star? Do you really need a true quote unquote star to win the NBA?
It's much, much easier. I mean, what team hasn't won like Detroit in 2004?
Yeah, there's not a lot of great examples. You're right. Like usually, like there's a star, though. Sometimes you win, and later on you find out there are a lot of stars on that team.
Yeah, but like, what team has won without a top 10 player? Like, other than the 04 team, like they always have a top 10 player.
Is it? Let's see. All the Golden State teams, obviously, the LeBron teams all had LeBron.
All the Spurs teams.
Yeah, they all had. I mean, the thing in the NBA is there's so few teams seem to win so many of these titles.
Because they have one of those top 10 guys.
Yes, it does help to have one of the top 10 guys. Yeah, last year was Golden State. They have Steph Curry. You can get to the finals without a top 10 guy, but it seems like you don't win very often without a top 10 guy.
Right.
That said, I wonder if you have 9 really good players or 3 to 4 all-star level players, maybe you could do it.
I think you could, because these top if you have, especially if you have a top like 5 or 10 guy, and then you have another all-star type guy, most likely, unless you got really lucky in the draft, you have a very thin team.
Yeah.
And that's where it could get interesting, because if you look at Milwaukee, Middleton, like, he just can't get healthy anymore. And, you know, they did get lucky. They made some nice moves around the peripheral, so they're able to absorb that. But now they're at the point where they can't really sustain another injury. I mean, like if Drew Holiday gets injured, you know.
I mean, yeah, if Giannis gets injured, they're screwed.
Well,
and if Drew, they've won 14 in a row. The Bucks look awesome this year. I'm not saying the Knicks. Again, this is not arguing the Knicks will win this year, but they're not that far away from competing with these teams. Like you're right. The Bucks, do they have a lot of years left?
Right. That's my point. Like Middleton, if he can't get healthy, you have Drew, who's 32, 33. He had a questionable injury history earlier too. Their window might be, Lopez is up there in age. Like their window might be shorter than we think. It might be like this year and next year, maybe the year after.
The Celtics look really good, but they get contributions from a 37-year-old Al Horford. Jaylen Brown is not always healthy, and he's not healthy right now. They have a very good team, but the Knicks just beat them last night, and then the Celtics are still a better team, but they don't look that much better than the Knicks. Coaching, I'll say this: Celtics in their organization have a lot of attractive interns that take down coaches. I don't know. The Celtics, they look good. The Sixers, Harden may leave. I don't know if you trust Harden in the playoffs. Cleveland looks pretty good. Do they look that much better than the Knicks?
Right. I would say right now the Knicks are 4th or 5th, depending on how you feel about Philly or Cleveland. And I think they're very close to Philly and Cleveland. And if they make that one last move, they're probably still behind Boston and Milwaukee, but I don't think Milwaukee's going to be good for very long. That would put the Knicks in a top 2 spot, and anything can happen when it's like that.
Anything can happen. And also, like, you talk about superstars, and so people would say, like, Donovan Mitchell, and I'm not saying I wouldn't want Donovan Mitchell for a team. I'm not doing this comparison to say, like, hey, we don't need Donovan Mitchell. But Donovan Mitchell, they'd say he's a true superstar. He's a guy that can get you to the finals. We have Jalen Brunson. Their stats aren't that different.
Actually, Brunson's been putting up better stats this season with better defense.
Yeah, Brunson actually, like, his stats, especially since January, his stats are better than Jalen Brunson, than Donovan Mitchell's.
Yeah.
And generally, I mean, Mitchell scores a couple more points a game. Brunson is more efficient. They're both. Donovan Mitchell's really good. I'm not arguing Jalen Brunson is better than him, but the difference isn't really that great.
Right. For the Knicks to have given what the price was, I don't think is worth it compared to just getting Brunson at free agency.
Right. Well, I guess the idea you to pair Brunson and Mitchell and so forth, but not even. I'm just making the point that like.
Yeah, but if you
Mitchell,
pair them, like their original offer was Mitch and RJ and Obi. So like, I feel like without Mitch, like if you had Donovan, they're better. But like if you lose Mitch, like how much better are they really?
Would you? Right. I guess the question also is like, would you rather have all the depth and all these firsts to trade to make a swing for another piece, or just have Donovan Mitchell?
I kind of like the position they're in right now because I feel like the Donovan Mitchell was their all-in move. Now they were able to make the Hart move, and they still have like that all-in move.
They have 3 less wins than Cleveland and have the ability to make an all-in move on top of this, which is pretty good place to be. But even I guess my other point was also that like maybe you don't have a top 10 player, but you have a bunch of guys that aren't that far off. Like Jalen Brunson's not that far from a Donovan Mitchell. Randall, not like a top 10 guy, but there's some nights where he looks like the best guy on the floor. A lot of nights he looks like the best guy on the floor.
I don't think enough is said about how Randall just never misses games.
No, he does not. He's like he's a warrior. And if you look at and go into the West, like just look as far as the teams that Knicks are going to contend with. Like the Nuggets, Jokic looks amazing. I don't know if I trust their depth. They're not like, I guess again, there'd be teams you play against. You go into the finals, but the Nuggets aren't like. I think they're going to the finals, but who knows? Memphis, who knows? You're really trusting the Kings. Like the West doesn't even look. The Knicks right now are I think the 7th best record in the NBA, or 6th best record in the NBA. The 7th, I guess, best record in the NBA. They're looking pretty darn good.
So if the Knicks
crazy.
just beat the teams below them in the standings for the rest of the season, they'll have exactly 50 wins.
That's pretty insane.
We should have bet the over at the beginning of the season.
It's crazy also if the Knicks, like people said the Knicks were, I can't. Last year I bet the over, lost $100 on that bet. This year I didn't do it. The Knicks are awesome.
What was the over, like 36?
38.5.
Okay.
They're obviously getting there.
They're almost there
right?
now.
It's crazy that to be a 500 team, the Knicks have to go 5-14 from here. They have to have an epic collapse to be the 500 team everyone predicted them to be.
And they would still beat the over.
They have to go 1-18 just to match last year's record.
It's crazy.
You know what's crazy also? So if I asked you how the team offensively is, do you think this is a good shooting team?
It's not great. No,
they're not. So last year, I think this is interesting. So last year, let's say you want to use effective field goal percentage or true shooting percentage. I don't know which one you think is a better stat. Let's go true shooting percentage.
Sure.
Doesn't matter.
Sure.
Last year the Knicks finished 25th in the NBA, and the offense sucked, right?
Yeah.
Last year they had the offensive rating. The Knicks were 23rd in offensive rating, and no one would argue they were a good team. So I was listening to a show where they mentioned one of the best ways to see if a team is a good offensive team is their shooting percentage, basically. It could be effective or true shooting percentage. Where do you think the Knicks are ranked this year in true shooting percentage?
21st?
22nd. 22nd. So they're still basically garbage when it comes to shooting. Where do you think the Knicks are ranked offensively?
16th?
They're the 6th best team in the NBA with offensive rating.
Okay. It's rebounding.
It's rebounding. Yes, they get all these second opportunities. It's crazy how the Knicks are now, according to the offensive ratings advanced stat, the Knicks are the 6th best team in the NBA when it comes to offense.
I mean, it makes it. They have 3 borderline elite rebounders on the team.
It gives the argument that you need a center that can rebound, and you need guards that can rebound.
Yeah.
And a power forward that can rebound. They have such a strong rebounding team. And by the way, the defensive rating, where do you think they are?
Uh, sixth.
12th.
Huh, I'm surprised. I would have thought better.
Yeah. But they could still get better they could still get better on defense.
It's those third quarters.
I was gonna say they're third in rebounding. You know who's actually first in rebounding? Which also just throws things off also, is Houston.
Huh. Interesting. I guess because they miss so many shots. Like
They miss a lot.
There's a lot of rebounds to go around.
The Knicks miss a lot of shots too, so who the hell knows? But yeah, the Houston is a terrible, terrible team. I just thought that was interesting. You know what I thought was also interesting? Just go things I thought were interesting, Jay. You like what I think. You like what I like, right, Jay?
Everything.
So every once in a while, I like to listen to I would listen to our own episodes, but I can't do it. I can't listen to my own voice because
You listen to
I don't know
last
how you
episode,
guys.
though.
I don't know how anyone in the audience listens to my voice, but I go back and listen to season previews just to see what people were saying when the season started. It's kind of fun to listen to season preview for this season, showing how different it was from then to now.
Yeah. I mean, we usually do our standings predictions and then at the end of the season, see how off we were. Did we do that this year?
I think we did it, but you didn't put it on the website. I also was hoping that
okay.
you'd have I feel like early in the season we did a player rankings, but it was not on the website, so I couldn't find it because I wanted to go over that. But whatever. But anyway, I was listening to the preseason preview, some other podcasts. And here are just things that we were talking about, which I think was funny that we were talking about then. So you want to hear some of the major issues? I mean, you could probably guess them. The first controversy: will Evan Fournier, Jay, and you could answer, Jay, will Evan Fournier come off the bench or will he start?
So Randall is on pace right now to break Fournier's all-time Knicks three-point record.
Really?
He has to average 3.4 threes a game for the rest of the season to
What's
break
he averaging
Fournier.
now?
He's averaging less, but lately he's been averaging more. So like after the All-Star break, I think he hit 12 in 2 games. So it's going to be close.
That would be crazy if he broke Fournier's mark. But it's so will Evan Fournier start or come off the bench? He won't play.
Won't play.
Yes.
So Randall for the season is averaging 2.8.
Okay, it's pretty good. It is also crazy. Beginning of the year, we were like, "Oh my god! Will they start Grimes or?" And we made this whole argument. And now Fournier doesn't play. Okay, second, the bench unit is the key to the bench unit. Derrick Rose's health.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, if he
These
can read
didn't
that
age
bench
well.
unit, we could have a really strong bench unit.
These didn't age well.
Okay. Third one, will Tibbs make it to January? By the way, I asked this, I jokingly asked this on Twitter today. Will Knicks fans still want Tibbs fired when he wins Coach of the Year for the second time in 3 years? And he probably won't win Coach of the Year, but he's going to be in the top 5 for Coach of the Year. I mean, I guess the NBA puts 3 up there, but he's top 5 for Coach of the Year. You can't name more than 4 coaches that are better than him this year.
Right.
I mean, you argue or whatever. He's getting consideration.
Yeah.
Also, will Cam Reddish have a role for this team?
Another swing and a miss.
Will Tibbs overplay the vets?
What? So none of these were right.
Yeah, no, nothing. We have no idea. We have no idea when the season starts, what's going to happen. This was provocative at the time, but there was a good argument for it. Maybe Randall's role better on the bench, and maybe Obi should be starting.
I mean, I saw that 2 weeks ago.
Yes, people don't stop with that one, but it's amazing. There are people still on Twitter talking about I could never forgive Randall for the Atlanta Hawks series. Okay, he had a bad series. So did everyone else. No one's saying I can't forgive RJ for that series. And
yeah, exactly.
how about he gets more playoff experience and the team looks better?
Yeah.
I mean, also, they didn't lose to a bad Hawks team. The Hawks went to the conference finals that year.
Yeah. Yeah, the Hawks were just inexplicably on fire for a season.
It was a weird year, but you can't forgive the guy when he's playing like an all-star again. Those are basically the storylines, but it's just really funny to hear like people talking about how the Knicks are going to be like, I guess they'll be a little bit better. I guess maybe 500. Brunson's pretty good. He'll elevate the team. RJ, as long as RJ plays well, we'll be good. You want to go some questions?
Yeah, so we should probably also say the Knicks signed a player today.
Oh, let's talk about it.
All right. Is that Dwayne Washington?
Wow, they got Dwayne Washington. Holy crap. Who is he?
Well, he was on the Suns earlier in the season, and I was actually like some of the players that got waived recently. Where are they now? Noel got waived.
Oh, was he on Dallas?
He was on Detroit.
Oh, Detroit. He's going to Dallas, though, right? League rules dictate if you're on the Knicks, you have to go to the Dallas eventually.
Yeah, he might have to. No,
they can legitimately use some center help.
Dwayne Washington averaged 8 points a game in just under 13 minutes, which is pretty good. He was on Phoenix earlier this season when they had some injuries. Didn't shoot the ball great, but energetic player. I guess it doesn't really matter because he's not going to play.
I'm just saying that right now, if Jalen Brunson or Randall or Grimes or Hart play over, what's the guy's name? Dwayne what? If he plays over what's his name, then the Knicks don't care about player development. This guy, if he's being signed, he should play 48 minutes a night. The Knicks should force all their games into overtime so he could play more than 48 minutes.
You can't have players on the bench just not playing. What team does that?
It is also just you mentioned earlier, but it is really so funny that like for a few weeks, Knicks fans were like, "Oh my God, now we have to complain about the minutes. Look at the minutes." And then Hart came here and they're like, okay, Grimes doesn't get enough minutes. RJ doesn't get enough minutes. You're like, what the now you're complaining about them not getting enough minutes?
Other waivings, the Raptors waived Juancho Hernan Gomez.
Did you see the Adam Sandler movie he was in?
No.
It was the basketball movie, and I forget the name of it. On Netflix, it was like semi decent. He was a scout, and he discovers this like prospect in Europe, and I forget where exactly it was, but Juancho Hernan Gomez played the guy. He was awesome in the movie. Just did a good job. Anyway, so hopefully he'll be in another Adam Sandler movie after getting cut.
So they did that because Will Barton got cut, and they're signing Will Barton. So that leaves Goran Dragic, who got waived.
There are a bunch of other guys that got. Has everyone found a home yet?
I think those are like the bigger names, and those aren't even very big names. But like
Jay, what about Carmelo? He's still being blackballed, or is the league over? It's just bullshit. A guy that's not very good anymore can't play.
The guy you wanted to draft, Willie Cauley-Stein, just got a 10-day contract on Houston.
Oh, okay, good for him. I did want to draft him. You're right.
You're
right about
a 30-second video of him hitting 2 threes, and Mark's like, draft this guy.
That's true. By the way, I want to mention that. Did we say this on the show? I forgot I said this on the show, but for all the people that want Carmelo to be the 15th guy on the bench, which apparently he won't be, he lost out that job to Dwayne
Washington.
Wayne.
No, the Knicks have another spot still, I believe, right?
I thought they gave that spot to Keels.
Does that make 15 or 14?
Who cares?
Yeah, true.
I thought it made 15. I thought Keels was the other guy. But either way, if you sign Melo, here's what would happen. He would just sit on the bench next to Derrick Rose, talking like you'd never play except for like in blowouts you call for a Melo. I don't know if Melo wants to just sit there and be a mascot.
Or if he played, he would take Obi's minutes, and everybody would complain about Obi's development is stunted. So there's no good scenario for that.
Right. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Why don't you just sign? If you're not going to play a guy, why don't you give Patrick Ewing the 15th spot in the roster?
Right.
Or bring Clyde on the roster. What's the difference? It's like idiotic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So NY Knicks Podcast is our email. Jonathan writes, Hey guys, I'm starting to believe that RJ is the worst teammate that a team can have. The majority of the time, he's just looking for shots, even when he's not making them. In every game, you see a teammate jumping with their hands up, wanting a pass, and he just can't make it. Then Thibs takes him out, and he gets mad like the other game that he didn't talk to the media. I think he just wants stats. Thoughts?
I just don't think RJ is having trouble figuring out how he can best contribute. He thinks he needs to score to contribute. And it's frustrating also if you're someone that feels like you can get 20 points a game to like give something up, like be more of a role player. It's hard to like, you're like, I'm the man. Now I have to be like kind of the man.
You know what? Everyone blames, the media and people on Twitter for when the Knicks aren't good. I'll do the same. I'll blame on them for calling RJ the king of New York when he like had 2 good games when he was like 19.
We drafted him third. We drafted him to be the man. It's unfortunate he hasn't quite been the man, but he's got a lot of talent. Hopefully he will get better. But like, so the Celtic game last night, he had a couple moments in that game just looked, and he also had a couple moments where he like looked really well and looked really good. He got like 8 straight points for the Knicks. It was awesome. But he had some moments last night where you're like, what the hell is he doing? One moment, he was basically like, he's outside the 3-point line. He's getting ready to drive to the basket. He just looks determined, like he will not give up the ball. And he's being double covered. And like Randall's looking at him like, just pass me the ball. You're covered. Mm-hmm. And RJ just doesn't even, like, Randall looks bad. And Randall, who doesn't always pass out of coverage, but he's getting better at it. He just looks at him like, dude, like you have to get rid of the ball if they're doubling you. You cannot keep the ball. He just looked baffled. And then there were a couple plays where basically RJ just tried to force the ball into like double or triple coverage and just turn the ball over. The last one he did I guess it was early in the fourth quarter. He does it, turns the ball over. Tibbs calls a timeout shortly thereafter, and RJ does not come back on the court.
I mean, the guys who were on the court were playing much better. You can't get mad. Obi had a great stretch.
He had a good stretch. I'm just saying, like, I think Tibbs also like saw RJ make that play, and he's like, "Okay, I'm done with you tonight. I'm gonna." It was probably a little earlier than he wanted to bring everyone. Like, he probably would have left RJ on the floor a little longer before switching everyone. And I think he just saw that play by RJ and was like, "Okay, RJ, I can't take this shit from you."
I feel like for the last
stop doing that.
10 to 15 games, Tibbs has been able to sense when RJ just doesn't have it, and he still plays a lot of minutes, but he'll play like 28 to 30 instead of like 35 to 40 when he's just not playing well.
I think he's like, now that he has heart, he's like, I don't have to always play this guy.
Yeah.
I can do lineups then. And also IQ has looked goddamn awesome lately. And by lately, I mean like the last 3 months. He's getting better and better and making it easier and easier for Tibbs just not to play a guy like RJ down the stretch.
I mean, it's good to have that flexibility. If RJ's playing great, awesome. If not, you got harder IQ who could step in. It's like they actually have the depth now to like absorb a bad game, where in the past it was like, oh, this guy's playing bad, I guess we're losing tonight.
Right. They really can't. Like, Jalen Brunson's had an off shooting night the last 2 games. That hasn't mattered.
Yeah.
You have enough guys that can, you're right. You have enough guys that can absorb a bad game. It makes a huge difference on this roster. But yeah, it's like also Tibbs is like a little bit more strict about his starting lineup and changing that. But he's very much like, I will go with who's playing best for the closing lineup.
Yeah. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah. I mean, like, I know some people argue like, hey, IQ should start over RJ, but I kind of like what they're doing with like they're like staggering it, and then RJ comes back with the bench unit.
It doesn't really matter because first quarter Randall is the best player in the NBA.
Yes, that is true. And either way, IQ seems to finish games. Can we praise IQ a little more? Like, how good has he been lately?
We haven't been really talking as much. So, the whole narrative that Tibbs doesn't develop players, look at IQ year 1 to now. Like, night and day.
He looks so much. He's not jacking up stupid shots. He's barely jacking up stupid shots. He's much more efficient. You can't say Tibbs made him a better shooter, but he's made him not jack up the dumb shots. His defense has been so good. Like he's a legitimate contender for like 6th man of the year. He is,
yeah. His odds went from minus 6,000 to like minus 28. I mean, plus 6,000 to plus 2,800. So
okay, Yeah,
people are noticing. People are noticing.
Okay, so questions. Do you have anything to add to that email?
He's just got to get better. I mean, that's the difference between this team being capped at a second round team and a team that can go really deep into the playoffs is RJ getting it together. That's it.
Yeah, his defense has been like a little better as of late. It hasn't been terrible. He looked good, like in the. It's also like in the Pelican game, he actually played really well. He had a really good game. He just needs to be more consistent.
He shows flashes, yeah. Like Pelicans game, he was really good, but that was his first game he played well in a while, and then it was over like the very next game. So like, we need more Pelican-like performances, like not once every 2 weeks. Well,
someone pointed out on Twitter they had like a 13-game stretch before he was out for a little bit, before he missed a few games where he was like he's shooting like 43% from three. Like his shot was on basically.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be able to extend that a little bit more, and he also has to know like against the Celtics have a really good defense. You cannot play around as much inside the paint. You have to know when you have to know when you can get to the basket and when you cannot get to the basket.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jason writes on Jason points out on Twitter. He posted basically I asked for questions or topics. He said I had asked in October 18th how many wins will the Knicks have, and Jason at the time responded 49 wins, 4th or 5th seed.
Wow. Nice prediction.
Nice prediction at the time. I thought that was a crazy prediction. SG writes, tear RJ a new one. He looks like the worst player on the team. He does look like arguably the worst player in the rotation right now.
He does. I don't want this to become the RJ hate podcast. But
no, I mean, like we said before, he's the key. You unlock him, this team, without adding anyone else, takes it to a next level.
Yeah.
Jay, do you have faith that Dolan, by the way, this offseason will spend the money to keep this team together?
Yeah.
How much money is IQ getting?
As much as it takes. I mean, he spent money on Eddie Curry. He spent money on Bargnani. Like, if he doesn't spend money on IQ, like, what are we doing?
I mean, he probably. I thought it would be crazy to say he gets 4 years, $100 million. Not that far off.
Yeah, I still think that's crazy.
What do you think's reasonable for him?
4 years, 60.
I think he's getting more than that. He's looking really good as of late. 4 years, 80. I also think you're under, like, a lot of these contracts aren't worth it what they were like a little while back.
We'll see.
Okay. And
it doesn't matter because they're capped out. So, like, you know.
It's all above the cap money.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And also, what is 4 years 60, 4 years 80? What does Hart get?
I think IQ and Hart both get around the same, like 4 years 60.
That sounds good. They have to come back. Okay.
Yeah.
Based Knicks fan writes, how nice is it to have the topic of what team we'd like to see in the first round?
What a nice change. I mean, when the Knicks missed the playoffs, like, 9 out of 10 years, it became a real drag to do this podcast. It really did. And not only did they miss the playoffs those years, they had, like, 3 out of the 4 worst seasons in franchise history. So it wasn't even like, oh, we just missed out on the playoffs. It was just, like, miserable, and then they didn't even get a good draft pick from it. It was just, like, the worst. So, yeah, it's very nice. Like, hey, we might actually have home court advantage in the first round.
I'd like to see the Knicks Cavaliers first round. I think that's my matchup.
So you missed the last episode, so you agree with Troy, and you want to see the Cavs.
Who would you want to see? You wanted to see Philly?
Yeah.
And you're hoping basically like Harden just pulls a Harden in the playoffs. So, like somehow he's gonna screw that team up.
Yeah, I mean, Troy did make the point that Harden usually doesn't start screwing up till the second round. He's been pretty elite in the first round, but he is getting older. Maybe he'll burn out like, you know, the second half of the first round this time.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. Anthony writes, topic: RJ is the key now. If RJ takes the step we're anticipating, I can confidently say we're a contender. Question: and we've kind of addressed that already. Question: do you guys really think Mitchell was going to make us better than we are right now?
Do we think he is?
If you made the Donovan Mitchell trade, would they be any better than they are currently? So I guess you're assuming the Donovan Mitchell trade includes RJ, Was it RJ, Obi, and Mitchell and Mitch Robinson?
That was the original offer that was turned down, so it would, I guess, cost more. So maybe say like Grimes on top of that.
Okay. If you took those four, forgetting the first round pick, you took those four guys off the team and added Donovan Mitchell, they are probably worse than they are now.
I think they are worse than they are now, yeah.
That's a lot of depth to lose in this team. Also, Anthony wrote, highlight of the season, Emmanuel quickly. What a turnaround.
Yeah, I was starting to have my doubts about him last season, and he's been just so good.
I've had a ton of doubts about him. His shooting was like, I just hated his dumb shots. I didn't think he was that efficient. I thought people were overrating him.
Well, he was taking bad shots and he wasn't hitting them. Like, there's a difference.
Yeah.
Like, Curry takes bad shots all the time, but he hits them.
He's more confident in his role on the team, and he doesn't need to just jack shots up because he's on the floor. He knows he's going to play now, which helps. He's also just giving great effort on defense. Like, people argue, like, well, Obi, like, he had that 10-game stretch where he played so well. He deserves these minutes. The difference is IQ's earned these minutes by playing really great defense. Obi's defense still sucks. It's still mediocre at best.
Yeah.
On Facebook or Instagram here, Christian writes, can we trade RJ for a KFC 20-piece of bucket, or is that too much to ask? Can the 20-piece bucket hit his free throw shots? On Instagram, Los Dude writes, what was the best game you've been to at the Garden? Can you describe the energy of the Mecca, and which team would you like to go watch in person next?
Oh, just back to IQ real quick.
Yes.
In his first 3 seasons, he's hit more threes than Steph Curry did in his first 3 seasons.
Yeah, I feel like that's a comparison that, like, wasn't Steph Curry injured a lot in his first 3 seasons?
Only his third season. His first 2, he was healthy. He played 80 and 74 games.
Okay, but that's still, so it's a whole season that he was, I guess obviously, like, IQ didn't start.
He played 26 games his third season.
The reason I don't like this, it's a great comparison that's wonderful. Like, they're not even close as far as 3-point shooters. And that's no knock against him. Steph Curry is the greatest 3-point shooter in the history of the NBA.
Just let me have this one. Okay. Because Steph Curry's 4th season, he, like, broke, the single season 3-point record. So, like, obviously, like, Steph goes off to the stratosphere in his 4th season. But
right, and you never want IQ to even know that and be like, I'm as good as Steph, and I'll start jacking stuff up like he's done in past seasons. Like, he has some great moves to the basket. Like, he's very tricky. Like, he has that like, Brunson is small in terms of NBA, but he's so crafty around the basket. And IQ is getting craftier and craftier around the basket also.
Yep, a lot of under the basket crafty guys. Yeah,
he has that little kind of running sideways across the basket where he kind of just like tosses it up sideways, almost kind of sideways shot that like just goes right in. He's got some good shots. Anyway, so as far as games, do you want to pick a game first? Who would you like? What was the best game you saw in person, and what team would you like to see?
It was probably the game where Marbury went coast to coast in like 3 seconds and hit a buzzer beater. Because
good.
A lot of people thought like the game was over, and I don't even know how he got down the court as fast as he did. And the energy was just amazing. Everyone went berserk when he hit that shot. A buzzer beater at the Garden's like
awesome.
No other experience. Yeah, like the crowd is just, I don't know. Knicks fans are so passionate and so into it. I don't remember the record at the time, but the Knicks could have been, 10-40, and the crowd still would have reacted like that.
In a close competitive game, the crowd really, really, it's electric. The crowd just gets so into it.
We did that.
Awesome.
We went to a game during one of those horrible, horrible seasons, and it got close, and the crowd it felt like a playoff game.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it was with you or with someone else, but there was a game before Melo got here, but that season. We had Amari, Felton, and they played Toronto. And I remember Bargs actually looking really good against the Knicks that game also. Maybe that was the game they saw him play, and they were like, we got to trade for this guy. But I remember it being a really tight game. The Knicks pulled it off at the end, and the crowd was just it was just a really fun game against the Raptors. I also have a lot of bad luck because most of the games I go to, the Knicks seem to lose. They just. I've been to 3 games this season so far. I saw the blowout against Dallas. I saw a Wizards game where the Knicks lost to the Wizards recently with you, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw one other game I saw the Knicks play the Bucks earlier in the year when it was a close game and the Knicks lost. I have a lot of bad luck. So tomorrow night I'm going to see the Knicks play the Nets.
Oh God!
And I hope I don't screw this up for us in the winning streak because the Knicks the Nets look like crap. The Knicks have to beat them tomorrow night.
Yeah. So what was the second part of that question?
Oh, it was just who would you like to see play? I've not seen the Knicks play the Nets in person. I'm dying to see that tomorrow night.
I think I might go next month to see the Nuggets. I want to see Jokic in person.
You see, I get that because Jokic's amazing, but I kind of want to see the Knicks win. So I wouldn't not that I wouldn't see that game, but I'm not dying to see a team the Knicks might lose to.
I just feel like if you have a chance to see an all-timer,
that's fair point.
You know, like when LeBron first got into the league, I went to a Knicks Cavs game just to see LeBron. Not just to see LeBron, but it's cool to say you saw those guys live at some point.
I owe my son a second game also. I'm thinking about taking him. The last game of the year is on a Sunday afternoon, so I'm thinking about taking him to that game. But then again, I'm also thinking if the Knicks are in the playoffs and the game's if the Knicks have a home playoff game on the weekend, I might just pay whatever astronomical price it is and take him to the playoff game.
Is the last game of the season the Cavs?
I forget. I was just looking at there aren't too many afternoon games.
That might be a huge game.
Oh, that really could be. Maybe I should get the tickets now then.
I mean, that could be like seeding. That could be home court for the playoffs.
Yeah. Shoot, is that the No, I don't think it was the Cavs. Let me look real quick because
the last game of the season is the Pacers.
Yeah, so this is a game they should win. Likely it'll be a meaningless game, but it's also a Sunday afternoon game, so we can go and have fun.
The week before is the Cavs, and that still might be a huge game.
Yeah, I'm just do I want to spend the money on that game or just use that money to help pay for the playoff tickets that how much do you think the playoff tickets are to get not terrible seats? Because I think everything's gotten so goddamn expensive. You think 200 I can get a ticket for?
$250. I don't know.
Okay.
Those are probably the worst seats. You're probably gonna pay $350 for the decent seats.
Okay, maybe let's go to that game
because we paid $100 for nosebleed seats.
Yeah, I think I paid. I think I have similar seats to you. We had the Washington game, which was second level, but semi near the middle. It was good seats. I think we had that tomorrow night, and that was I think I paid $150 for that ticket.
Yeah. So yeah, playoffs has got to be double or triple that.
It's not like Jay. And by the way, just to the fans, not like Jay and I have a lot of money. We're just stupid how we spend our money.
Well, yeah. If I had money, I'd be I want to sit courtside once in my life, but I'm so far away salary wise to do that.
Samuel writes, could we really make a run in the playoffs, or is the unbeaten 6-game streak just messing with my mind?
I think they can make some noise. The Knicks think they can make some noise. Hart was talking about that yesterday.
I don't see them getting swept. They look like a tough team in the first round. I don't know. I know these are games these are not playoff games, but the Knicks look really good. I mean, how different are what happens in the playoffs? The game gets slowed down. It becomes more of a half-court game.
Mm-hmm.
Knicks seem pretty prepared for that.
I mean, they're probably playing Philly or Cleveland, and I think they could. I think those are 2 winnable series. I'm not saying they're gonna, but I think that it's possible.
It's not crazy. The Bucks, they're not going to beat the Bucks. Probably not going to beat the Celtics. Philly and Cleveland are not so much better.
Yeah.
Donna Drian writes, go over preseason predictions and what to expect for this next stretch.
Well, you did the preseason predictions.
I don't know. Maybe I read this earlier. That's why I did that. I don't know. All right. I forgot about this question, but what to expect for the next stretch? Let's see what the Knicks have coming up.
So the Knicks have tomorrow against Brooklyn, then they're at Miami, at Boston, and then
probably recording that Monday. But,
probably recording that Monday.
Brooklyn, Miami, Boston. You got to think at least one of the 3, probably 2 of 3. Celtics are probably going to be gunning to beat them. Probably beat Miami. I'd say Brooklyn, Miami, they win, lose to Boston. And then
Yeah.
after that, they got Charlotte, Sacramento. Charlotte should be a win. Sacramento, I know Sacramento's playing really well right now. The Knicks look a better team than Sacramento. I don't know. We played them earlier in the year. I'm not that impressed by Sacramento. The Clippers are
Depends who's
decent.
playing. Depends who's playing.
Depends on who's playing. The Lakers don't have LeBron. Portland, I know they have Cam Reddish and all, but they're very beatable unless Dame scored 70. They got Denver, which is tough, obviously. Got Minnesota, which is average. They got Miami, which they're okay. Orlando's playing really well right now, but the Knicks beat Orlando. Knicks have a bunch of games. They have 19 games to go. They have a bunch of winnable games left.
Look at their last 10 are all beatable. Minnesota, Miami, Orlando, Houston, Miami, Cleveland, Washington, Indiana, New Orleans, Indiana. Those are all winnable games.
Not to jinx us, but I'd say I'm going to jinx by just saying this, but I think the worst case for the scenario for the Knicks right now is going 10-9 over the last 19 games.
Yeah. I mean, I thought they would go 14-5.
That might be stretching it a little bit, but
there's not a lot of good
12-7?
teams in that stretch. There's not. A lot of good teams.
But like you just have also just sometimes you just lose a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can lose. Like they played Washington when we went to the game, they lost. Like you can't be on every night.
It's before Hart.
You know what's great also, like there's a comment I read, like I forget who posted this, but it was they were talking about another team's coach was just saying about the Knicks. They're like, that team just plays hard every night, and they do. And that's one of the things that like Tibbs really brings is getting them to play hard every night, which looks like a pretty good. Like maybe he doesn't draw up the best plays, but the team brings effort.
Yeah.
Is
that it for
by
questions?
the way, are you still in love with Josh Hart?
Oh yeah.
He's been awesome.
He's exactly the guy the Knicks needed.
I can't believe how good of a fit he is.
Yeah.
By the way, I also want to add that I know I see a lot of bad takes when people make on Twitter. I have made so many terrible takes on Twitter about things I've said about the Knicks over the years. I'm glad for how many things I've been wrong about.
I mean, that's what we say. You know, we're happy to be wrong if we're being negative, and we're wrong. We're glad.
Yeah. So I think we're kind of done tonight. I just want to ask you one thing. I mean, I didn't get a chance to talk about this earlier, but I want to say, not talk about the Nets for a second. The Nets are a joke for many reasons, but they got some young talent in the team.
They're down by 15 right now with 4.5 minutes left.
So Cam Thomas, and I don't know what kind of defense he plays, and maybe he's a terrible defender.
Mm-hmm.
He scored 40 points for 3 straight games on pretty good shooting.
Mm-hmm.
How does he not start for them?
I don't know. It's insane. It really is. Like,
I'm guessing Spencer Dinwiddie is playing over him. What in God's name are you doing playing Spencer Dinwiddie or playing any? This guy scored 40 points. A second-year player scored 40 points a game for 3 straight games, and he can't crack the starting lineup.
I mean, they're starting Cam Johnson over him. Cam Johnson's fine. Cam Johnson's not bad, but like,
I thought Spencer. I don't know who's starting over. You could fit him into the goddamn lineup. The guy's 6'5".
Well, Dinwiddie's starting also, but maybe not a good night to do this. Cam Thomas is 0 for 7 with 2 points.
Okay. Well, maybe because he's not starting. Maybe he's just giving up on the team. I don't know. It's just weird that he scored. There was after this, after he scored the 3 straight games of scoring 40. A couple games later, Mikal Bridges scored 40, and Mikal Bridges also is really good. And they were asking Cam Thomas about Bridges' scoring effort, and Cam didn't seem the most enthusiastic about it. And they were giving him crap like, why aren't you more excited for your teammate? You're like, dude, I scored 40. I'm not even I'm a bench player now. Like, how am I going to be happy for anyone?
Their bench is 1 for 15 tonight.
Jesus Christ. Okay, I take back my entire rant in favor of Cam Thomas. I just don't if you're the Nets, what in God's name are you doing besides playing the young players?
You know what? I honestly hope that ruins the chemistry. I wish them nothing but the worst.
I do wish them nothing but the worst. It's got to be terrible for the team chemistry. Where, dude, it's not like he did it once. He did 3 straight games. Like, he really stepped up. The team's going nowhere. I mean, they're playing the Bucks also, so they're obviously a very good team. And I'm not arguing you shouldn't play like a guy like Bridges, but Bridges is young. You could say this is part of our future. All guys, just find a way to get this guy more minutes.
I mean, he played 19 today. happened to shoot 0% on 7 shots.
It's really bad. I don't know. It's just like Cam Thomas is not this bad. I'm assuming whatever you want to say for the Knicks, as far as they're not playing so-and-so and not developing, the Nets saw a guy score 40 points for 3 straight games and said this guy deserves less playing time.
Yeah, and it's not like he's playing behind like Randall and Obi. Like Randall made the All-Star team twice. Like Cam Johnson's not making the All-Star team.
Right. If anything, also Spencer Dinwiddie, you should have traded him when you got him you should have traded him also.
Yeah.
Like, what are you what are you
I don't
doing?
know. They wanted an 8-guard lineup. I don't know.
Like the Nets are like, we could like the smartest thing the Nets could do right now is going like, hey, how do we get a ping pong ball to try to get Victor Wembanyama? Instead, they're like, well, maybe we can try to keep the 6th seed. They're such a dumb team. How is Sean Marks still have a job?
I don't know.
I mean, he has done such a terrible job there. Anyway, so if you have a Nets podcast, God love you. God, you know our pain for so many years.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about the Knicks?
No, let's just hopefully we can. Well, I really, really want to keep that streak going at least to a 7th game. But
okay, I'm going tomorrow night. I've had a lot of very bad luck. But it's going to change tomorrow night. The Knicks are going to beat the crap out of it. How bad is my luck? During Linsanity, the Knicks won 12 of 13 games. I was there for the 13th game. I've had such bad luck seeing the Knicks. It's not that like I haven't been to a billion games, but I've had I can't afford to go that many games. And the Knicks just put on the Knicks. I saw them play Dallas this year. It was the game where they lost by 30, where they had to like rechange the team. They had to figure shit out because they were played so poorly.
Well, that's going to end tomorrow. Nets are on a back-to-back. The Knicks had a day off. They're coming off a great win against the Celtics. The Nets are all demoralized by getting thrashed right now. Yeah, I think your streak's going to end, Mark.
Let it end. Go Knicks. This is so much fun. One thing I'd say, New York Knicks, you're making it really hard for me to pay attention at work. You're playing too well. I just want to spend the whole day looking at social media, reading stuff about you. You're killing my job. But thank you anyway, Knicks.
Keep it going, then. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. NY Knicks Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, NY Knicks Podcast on nyknickspodcast@gmail.com is our email. Like and subscribe on all those places. YouTube, we're youtube.com/TITOWAJ, and Twitch, twitch.tv/crumpledbacon. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks, Matt,
Jay,
for joining in the chat. Thanks, Rob. Yep.
Jay, do you think people would pay to to watch you on like OnlyFans where you just play with New York Knicks action figures?
I think that's more of a Twitch thing. If you like video game streams, Matt with 1T _video_games. He does awesome streams almost every day. I watch him all the time, and he's a lot of fun. So check him out if you want to watch some video game streams.
You're not going to launch the OnlyFans site?
No, I'm not going to let you on the OnlyFans site. And we'll be back soon.
Bye, love. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. It's all over. Goodbye. It's time to go.
This is the end.
Say goodbye. You better go away.
I'm gonna leave you.
It's the end. Goodbye. Goodbye. Just leave me alone.
Feels so good to say goodbye.
I'm sick and tired and I'm saying goodbye. Goodbye, girl.
Goodbye, 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 everybody.
The Mavericks are down 70-59 at halftime against the Pacers. Wow, that's going poorly.
The Kyrie effect.
Wow. So the Knicks, and I guess maybe I could have said it on the show, but the Knicks basically said we only need one pick for the first round. We're going to bet to see which pick is going to be better. and we're pretty sure Dallas pick will be better than that will be the better pick than our pick because we're going to win more games than Dallas. It's a pretty bold statement, and they're right.
Yeah.
It would be really hard. It's really unlikely that Dallas ends up with a better record than the Knicks.
This is awesome.
Also, the Wizards just beat the Hawks. They have a pretty good chance of getting to like the play-in tournament. If the Wizards win the play-in tournament, the Knicks get their seat. They get they officially make the playoffs, and the Knicks get their draft pick, right?
Isn't it protected?
It's protected by the playoffs, I thought.
Oh, I thought they. Don't make the playoffs.
I thought it was like top 16 or top 14 or something. I thought basically my understanding was that the Wizards make top 14, I guess, protected. So if the Wizards make the playoffs, the Knicks get their pick.
Oh, right. Okay, makes
sense. So
sense.
it basically means if the Wizards win their play-in they win in the play-in tournament. How cool would that be if they do that?
That would. All right.